The golden age of Hollywood with these rare. Maureen O'Hara near the end of her life showed the 5 strongest and feared people in Hollywood who once made the whole entertainment business close down. Hollywood, the dreamland of wanting to be a star, is also a dark maze where wealthy people play games. What will happen to many stars during her many years of work? Maureen O'Hara, the actress with bright red hair with determined eyes, not only saw the best time for American movies, but also went through the worst. Dark, the fun part of the show business. At the height of her success, O'Hara didn't say much name, but near the end of her life she showed a shocking list to everyone. 5 of the most powerful people in Hollywood gave her the name of the scariest people I've ever known. The people who could make an A talent that went from unknown to star quickly and make someone's life worse with a pout. Not only were they well-known directors or rich producers, they were the ones who lied behind the scenes, where lust and power meet. Crossed paths in the shaky story by Maureen O'Hara. Each of them comes out with the arrogance, brutality and lies that scared people. Hollywood, this is the first time Maureen O'Hara lets her past shine through to tell us who the 5 people are who kept her awake for years and the scandalous things she almost didn't do. Thrive. There was one guy who had the most Maureen O'Hara's life was deeply affected by in his work. John Ford was the director whose style is famous and who won 4 Oscars, but in her painful autobiography O'Hara talked about her link with Ford. Complex, sad, and sometimes dark. Ford was the one who found Maureen O'Hara and gave her the parts she would play in works of art like How Green Was My Rio Valley, The Quiet Man, and Grande. He praised her on screen, admiring her skills and sharp looks behind the camera, though there was a not the same. Ford was a man of many paradoxes. O'Hara says that he both treasured she treated her like a valuable gem and ate her with out-of-control anger he could blow up at any time on set. At a line of conversation that doesn't fit or a simple switch of O'Hara once said that Ford scolded her in front of the whole crew for giving feedback on he couldn't stand that I was wiser than him, she said that he pushed O'Hara to do other things. To do a scene over and over until too tired to practice duty to obey. Strangely, even though she was treated badly, O'Hara never really turned her back on Ford. She agreed that there was something deep and hard to describe between they were strange and almost mentally ill bond. Backstage rumors in Hollywood, it looked like John Ford had fallen and she was in love with Maureen O'Hara, but it was only love shaped by power and danger. O'Hara once said he didn't know what love was. He just possessed. Ford once made a drunk proposal. He turned to her when she said no, his love affair with hate. He was cold, far away, and more cruel in their next actions worked together. For O'Hara, John Ford was not only a director but also a strong figure that hung over her, both the man who made her famous and the man who made her feel very little and played within her. There is no life after John Ford. We also have Louis B. Mayer, the strong boss at MGM and the man people feared, called the Golden City of Louis B. Mayer, who was the head of MGM, the man everyone in Movie Town had to be careful of. He was not only the head of that was the biggest movie theater chain in the world. Time and also a live sign of for sure Mayor Maureen O'Hara was in charge. He wasn't just a movie mogul being the voice of the quiet fear that lasting through her. Mayor personally invited Maureen to the job. O'Hara to sign a deal with MGM and chance that any woman at that once thought of as a bright dream. He said nice things and promised to bring. She became a big star and got paid a lot. Major parts in hit movies and strong help from the whole world scheme. But O'Hara had the guts and pride in a woman who knows what she's worth. Said no, and that's when the dreams began. Started soon after declining Mayor. Strange problems started to arise. What an important part O'Hara had played. The offered were moved in secret when she got to the set, be told that someone else got the part else without giving a reason. No alert. The sudden cancellations of the makers stayed away from her like they could spread the word. In the end, O'Hara remembered that someone in every business told her no, over and over again. No one can say no to the mayor without punished. Louis B. Mayer's fame in everyone in the business knew about it. He had full power at MGM, not only to run the studio and be in charge of the private lives of his actors. They had to stick to the picture, the workshop that was built based on a set of morals codes and sometimes based on the Menche Manifesto was for the private what the companies want bigwigs. Anyone who fought back was taken away quickly and without. I feel bad that O'Hara wouldn't be a player in that game of power, but she also got it. That making that choice cost her a lot. Even though she kept up her own name and charm, her job was hard. For a long time at MGM she had to act in a lot of movies, shorter movies from small studios, because she was closed at the big studios where Mayer still looked like a god. How much Howard was the next man. Hughes, a strange wealthy movie well-known maker. Strange. He built a kingdom not only in those in the movie and airline businesses, but besides being one of the weirdest people in American shows and movies history. With his huge wealth, Hughes owned businesses as well as women he thought about as property. Some of them are Maureen O'Hara. From the first time he met O'Hara, Howard Hughes was crazy about her beauty and charisma. He sent her expensive gifts, long letters written by hand, and even promises of big parts in Unrefusable and big deals if she agreed to become a part of his world. But O'Hara, even though she was a but star, turned them down because she saw that Hughes wasn't looking for not only for a coworker but also for him. Quickly after she turned him down, trouble. The first movies O'Hara worked on where roles were dropped all of a sudden without a reason, and when she asked to give an answer, people who work in the take a quiet look at the other. She learned quickly that in being turned down by Hollywood, like it wasn't Howard Hughes easy. Producers got out of contracts, began not to work with her, and closed doors. It was said that Hughes depended on more than money and power to get the women he wanted. Those who turned him down were watched, threatened, and controlled. Calls made without warning, anonymous stalkers, and events that have to happen. All of them were part of the secret system of Hughes. Put control over those who refused to give in to him. Although O'Hara had a reputation for being a fierce and strong womanizer, was not exception to the strange billionaires. Be careful. For all his money, power, and fame, he was more than just a man. He was crazy about beauty and a bully who tried to control other people, not letting anyone turn him down, not having to pay and in the case of O'Hara, the price was putting their job at risk with unknown loops and twists. Jack L. Warner, or maybe the name Maureen. What scares O'Hara the most is the highest level of power and tricks. As the creator and leader of Warner Brothers, he made a famous movie kingdom, but that success came at a cost. It's not always fair, especially for women stars like Maureen O'Hara. Warner and she were linked. Something more than a cold business deal. Had a terrible war with a star and a boss in charge of the whole movie business. Warner had originally signed O'Hara to a big deal early in her career, changing her from a possible star becoming an important part of the studio's cast, but like many Hollywood women, this was quickly learned by O'Hara. There was no promise of creativity in the deal. Freedom or a chance to be creative. It was a Warner could always make the trap tighter. Warner, who was angry and vocal, nature didn't wait to turn O'Hara into a good that can be traded between companies, made her act in movies she didn't want to show up in just because Warner wanted to make sure keep business deals, and for sure feeling out of control, misled, and ill-equipped. O'Hara felt stuck in the Hollywood is like a glass cage where every Warner's told them what to do. Interested in, but the worst was yet to come. When O'Hara asked for a change in an inappropriate part, Warner used as part of his deal to threaten, "You can leave Warner," I told her. "Brother, but if you do that, you'll never do any other work in Hollywood," he said. Said his eyes. It was cold, and O'Hara couldn't get out of the trap. Avoid, even though it's hard for her. Things looked like O'Hara wasn't going to be. After months of pain, she swayed, made the choice to face the risk of Warner and telling everyone the truth about his playing with and use of force. She did this in public, shedding light on the dark side that Warner tried to stay away from. Live interviews and stories written by reporters helped her beat Warner's plan, as he told everyone about the manipulation he had used on her and others. It's true that she won the case. She also got to make her own choice. Career. Jack L. Warner, Even though he was the most famous businessman in Hollywood, in the end backed down, but O'Hara paid a high price for this fight was very big. Her work was put on hold for a long time, and her people in the business world got trickier then, but O'Hara never felt bad about what she did. She knew that in Hollywood there would have to be fights, but if she didn't fight, she would never find being free and independent in art. Jack L. Warner might be in charge of an kingdom, but she is the one who finally got power back and fought bravely for her voice in a world full of tricks of out of the guise above. Who do you think is the most scary? And please leave a review and like the stream to watch something fun videos of Maureen O'Hara. The Steel Beauty in the film City had a terrible accident with a rich businessman after a terrible scandal that almost ended her career image, and a picture that got out. Hollywood's answer to Maureen O'Hara shocked everyone. With this video will tell you the facts that been kept secret for 30 years. During the height of Hollywood's in the 1940s and 1950s, Maureen O'Hara she is a powerful force with her fire because she was beautiful and could act well. The name of the queen who hasn't been crowned, silver screen, but her strength and her charm made her the target of a fateful meeting in the dark power fight that made her life different after that. That work in the entertainment business papers from behind the scenes that have since come out, including diaries. Maureen got letters and taped talks, was asked to meet with one in secret of the most powerful movie business moguls at the time. The man never showed up, and he was in charge of the fate of a lot of stars, and rumors about him were always linked to his secret power, having power over the media and being able to bury the lives of anyone who dared to against he. The meeting took place in the room at the top is fancy but cold. When Maureen thinks of the floor of a popular studio, that his look wasn't too direct, not dangerous, but rather the kind of a chill that made you feel in charge from the start. After a few among the small talk, the real problem was brought up. Mogul said a big part in a video with a lot of money in return. Silence worked together by following certain rules of the unwritten rules of trade down, but were clear to everyone. For many, this could have been a chance to, but Maureen O'Hara's life didn't change. It was an insult that she couldn't stand for. He looked him in the eye straight on, and she made it clear that she would not trade her honor for a part. Her job was to act, not sell things. The Strong's hands from that. All of her plans changed at that moment. Began to die slowly and quietly. The requests to work together came one by one. Roles that were important were given to other people. The press started to bad things about her, making up, telling stories about her private life and attitude, and even bad habits that weren't real. After the terrible meeting with the rich and powerful businessman, the media storm began to take Maureen O'Hara by force. From a very popular actress, she suddenly became the eye of a storm of false tales, and what was scary was that no one spoke coming forward to defend her. In just a few weeks, a number of newspapers came out with shocking news stories. Maureen O'Hara, the tough princess or the haughty queen. The deal was cancelled at the last minute. For a second, was it because of a scandal in love? The beautiful Irish woman lost her cool. Behind the scenes articles without any proof, even changing her words on purpose, were all over the place. O'Hara was given a list of harmful words that describe arrogant, unreasonable orders not to cooperate, even almost in your mind, not steady. Some newspapers even short-lived relationships with directors and co-stars in order to make the picture of a woman who was flirty and unstable. It was all the result of a planned smear campaign, and Maureen was aware of it. Hurt that no one in the business world stood up for her. They knew what would happen next if they braved to speak out. Big parts were taken back without. Studios made changes to the script as a reason to take her off the show list. Requests for interviews went away. Maureen O'Hara, who used to be on with the biggest names, all of a sudden became a name to stay away from in Hollywood. The story was not just a claim against her picture, but a clever secret. There wasn't a lot of noise like with the people sued, but it was slowly leaving an eerie and silent mark, putting a star that used to shine at risk of getting out of the spotlight. In general, public opinion was still upset about false rumors. There was a real earthquake in Hollywood. A picture that was leaked and is said to be of Maureen O'Hara in a private and honest way thing on the set that no one knew about. The picture came from it wasn't officially put out by any big newspaper, but it first showed up in a small newspaper, but within hours it spread like a virus. A female star who was linked to a respectable strong picture became the center all of a sudden of mistrust, anger, and close attention. In the picture of a woman thought to be Maureen was sitting with your back against the back of the director's chair, her clothes a mess. Her eyes looked like they were out of control. The background was fuzzy and hard to see, but the lens was set at a slant that on purpose made me feel a sense of not following the law taboo. Right away, the media added, Maureen. It was clear that O'Hara was not steady. The real story behind a well-known star, what people didn't know and wasn't found out for years, was that the picture had been made or changed. A number of shooting experts from the time in post-production that is no longer secret. The strange things were pointed out in papers. The lights was turned off for the day of the shoot, the shadows didn't match, and even more, the face was fuzzy, as if they were a mix of several different shots. A former head of lighting who worked in an interview in 1987, O'Hara said, I knew she wasn't working that day. Shoot outside 60 miles away. Even though the truth came out in the end, the price Maureen paid was very high. When everything looked like it would be against her from the news, friends who worked at the movie companies that had Maureen O'Hara stood by her and did the surprise. She didn't whisper at a press meeting was quickly set up under the stress of having dozens of reporters, and there were cameras right on her face. The woman who had been called tough stepped out with a very proud face posture. She didn't dress in fancy clothes, did not paint a picture, just a firm Maureen with a straight unashamed look. The room was quiet. There was one camera that clicked when she stepped on the stage. There was something that got everyone in the crowd used to avoid responsibility or blame. Hold there. Then Maureen spoke in her own voice, clear without shaking. I won't give up my honor for the part. If I have to leave, I will. With my head held high, I said one thing. But it looked like a cut right through those who don't want to be heard. Hollywood. It wasn't just a point, not a manifesto or a person speaking for several hundred or even 1,000 women and people in the show business who were being told to keep quiet after that statement. The room was quiet, not since no one had anything to say, but because nobody was brave enough to speak out. The big people in power behind the scenes knew that Maureen had just broken a rule that no one could see. A rule that everyone follows, but no one wrote. She knew not to fight us, but she did it anyway. That they did it with a lot of guts. It quickly made it to the front pages of many big media, but not to defend. The media didn't talk about her. Still turned their backs on, but for a lot of people, mostly women, Maureen O'Hara became famous, a woman who